In 1937, the worst year of the Dirty Thirties, 2 out of 3 people in rural Saskatchewan had no income, no harvest, and no way forward. And yet, every evening, someone still put food on the table. The 1930s hit Canada harder than almost any other country. Wheat prices collapsed after the stock market crash of 1929. Then drought arrived on the prairies and refused to leave. Grasshoppers devoured what little remained. Families lost farms, savings, and any sense of security, but not their resourcefulness. These are 10 dishes that kept Canadian families alive through the hardest decade this country has ever known. Number 1. Porridge with drippings. Before the Depression, prairie families started their mornings with eggs, salt pork, and fresh bread. By 1932, most of that was gone. Rolled oats remained cheap and available throughout the Dirty Thirties. A pot of porridge cost almost nothing and stretched to feed an entire family. When butter ran out, and it often did, families stirred in whatever fat had been saved. Beef drippings from the bottom of the pan, rendered lard, sometimes nothing at all. A spoonful of molasses sweetened it if there was any. This was not a comfort breakfast. It was fuel, made from the last things left in the cupboard, eaten in silence before the dust outside started to blow again. Number 2. Boiled salt cod with potatoes. When Saskatchewan's crops failed completely in the early 1930s, something remarkable happened. Newfoundland sent salt cod to the prairies. Donations of salted dried fish traveled inland by rail to communities that had never tasted seafood. Prairie families soaked the fish overnight to draw out the salt, then boiled it until it flaked apart. Potatoes simmered in the same pot. Plain and protein-rich, it was deeply unfamiliar food for people who had eaten wheat-based meals their entire lives. But in a decade when starvation deaths were recorded in official government statistics, a box of salt cod arriving from the East Coast was not charity. It was survival, shipped by train. Number 3. Bone broth soup with root vegetables. In cities, municipal relief kitchens served soup to the unemployed. In rural homes, families made their own version with whatever remained in the root cellar. A soup bone, often given away cheaply or free by butchers, was dropped into cold water and simmered for hours, extracting collagen and marrow until the water became a broth with real body. Turnips, carrots, parsnips, and potatoes went in next. Families ate the same pot for days, adding water and scraps to stretch it further. Nothing was removed until the bone had surrendered every last trace of flavor. It was built entirely from parts of an animal that no one else wanted, which, in the Dirty Thirties, made it invaluable. Number 4. Lard sandwiches on homemade bread. This is the dish that stops modern people cold, and it was eaten in Canadian homes across the country throughout the 1930s. Bread was baked at home because store-bought loaves cost money most families did not have. The Five Roses Flour Company, a Canadian institution, published Depression-era cookbooks specifically designed around fewer eggs, less butter, and minimal sugar. The dense homemade loaves that resulted were spread thickly with rendered lard, the cheapest fat available, and carried to school by children and to relief work sites by adults. It tasted of almost nothing except salt and fat. It kept you going. That was the entire point. Number 5. Bean and barley stew. Dried beans and barley were among the most important foods in 1930s Canada. Cheap, shelf-stable, and capable of feeding a large family for days from a single bag. Navy beans were soaked overnight, then simmered with pearl barley, onions, and whatever scraps of salt pork were available. The barley broke down slowly, thickening the broth into something almost creamy. Together, they produced a stew filling enough to serve as a complete meal, eaten with bread if there was any, alone if there was not. On the prairies where gardens had been destroyed by drought and grasshoppers, this stew was often just beans, barley, water, and whatever seasoning remained in the tin at the back of the shelf. Number 6. Fried cornmeal mush. In rural Ontario and parts of Quebec, cornmeal served double duty. Eaten hot as a porridge in the evening, then transformed into something entirely different the next morning. Cornmeal stirred into boiling salted water, cooked into a dense, smooth mush. Poured into a pan to cool overnight, it set completely solid. By morning, it could be sliced and fried in whatever fat was available, until the outside turned golden and crisp. Eaten with a drizzle of molasses, it was among the closest things to a treat that Depression-era children tasted during the week. The technique wasted nothing. One pot of cornmeal produced 2 separate meals, exactly the kind of recipe Canadian home economics teachers promoted throughout the Dirty 30s. Number 7. Creamed peas on toast. Canadian newspapers actively promoted economical recipes throughout the 1930s, and creamed peas on toast appeared in print so consistently it became shorthand for Depression cooking. Canned or dried peas were warmed in a thin white sauce, butter, flour, and milk, and spooned over toast. The white sauce itself was a Depression staple. It could stretch almost any ingredient into something that resembled a proper meal. A handful of peas became dinner. A scrap of leftover meat became a substantial dish. Families who had once expected meat at every sitting now set the table for this and called it supper. What is remarkable is not how simple it was. It is that people ate it with dignity, said Grace, and carried on. Number 8. Potato soup with canned milk. By the mid-1930s, the potato had become the single most important vegetable in the Canadian diet. It grew in poor soil, survived winter storage, and cost almost nothing. Diced potatoes simmered in water with a chopped onion until soft. Some were mashed directly in the pot to thicken the broth. Condensed canned milk, promoted widely in Canadian Depression-era cookbooks, like 100 glorified recipes, stirred in at the end, turned the soup pale and slightly creamy. Salt and pepper finished it. The soup appeared under many names: cream of potato, farmer's soup, potato chowder. The names varied. The soup was always the same: warm, filling, and built from the one vegetable that never completely failed. Number 9. Dandelion greens with vinegar. In the spring of every Depression year, something happened in backyards and along roadsides across Canada. Families went outside and picked their dinner. Dandelion greens emerged each April before almost any other edible plant, and they were free. Prairie families who had survived months on beans and salt gathered the young leaves before they turned bitter. Boiled briefly, then dressed with vinegar, sugar, and bacon grease, the greens provided vitamins absent from winter diets for months. Scurvy appeared in government relief statistics during the worst Depression years. Wild greens gathered from fields and ditches were among the things that actually prevented it from spreading. Number 10. The one-egg cake. We end with the recipe printed in Canadian newspapers distributed by home economics teachers and passed between neighbors from Halifax to Vancouver: the one-egg cake. Before the Depression, a proper cake required 3 or 4 eggs. By 1932, Canadian cookbooks were publishing recipes built around using as few as possible. The one-egg cake used a single egg, minimal butter, and a small amount of sugar, made up with baking powder, milk, and vanilla. It rose modestly and tasted plain. And it was not meant to impress. It was made to give children something that felt like celebration on a birthday or a Sunday, during years when celebration had become a quiet act of resistance. The families who baked it did not do so out of defeat. They did it to remind themselves that ordinary joy was still worth protecting. These 10 dishes were never just recipes. They were daily decisions made by people who refused to stop feeding their families when the land dried up and the money ran out. The Dirty 30s tested Canada to its limit, and the kitchens held.